All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Oh, thank you. You know, I must be honest with you. There is no adulation like recorded adulation. Thank you. I'm humbled and indeed, might I say, honored by your brief, in fact, all too brief applause. It is our Friday show. We are live across the globe from 11 to 1 on the west coast of the United States, and from 2 to 4, how about the East Coast? Shout out to the East Coast. Yeah, and every place in between. Happy Friday, everyone, indeed. Kim is here.
Kim, how are
to
you?
Keep us honest. She does her job. That's right. Kim doesn't like to take it from anybody.
I blame you.
Yeah, she's got all that built-up resentment. God knows why. But, man, she's going to take it out on us. And meantime, Albert is here as well.
Albert, thank you.
And Albert is just waiting to go play golf, is really what he's about. Yeah. He's working golf games in between his gigs. We're just happy that we're one of them. So,
girl, you just woo.
Yeah, let's get it on, everybody. Too much fun in the new America. Oh my gosh, it is just great. We'll share with you the thoughts and reflections of so many. So many have been already cowed by the new American administration. I mean, they're not even a year into office, and everybody just can't wait to collapse and do whatever they want. Please don't hurt us. Seems to be I would say it's the adage of the day. I'm reminded of the way that law firms and media companies have collapsed in fear, and perhaps legitimate fear, with the rising power of the administration on total flex. We'll get into some of that. Michael Shure come by in the second hour. Yeah. Bottom of this hour, Dr. Rob joins us. Dr. Rob is someone who might have some thoughts on pretty substantial news that came out of the CDC this week. RFK Jr. and his band of anti-vaxxers, they have revised the children's schedule for vaccines. So that is both big news and important news, and lastly, news that I personally would like to have re-explained to me by an actual physician. So don't go to RFK Jr.'s office if you want an actual physician. No. You'll come here and we'll do that bottom of the hour. Yes, Albert has curated Friday Fabulous Florida today. On a 10 scale, Albert, 10 being, oh my God, I have just seen my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, in Friday Fabulous Florida. I never need to see another Friday Fabulous Florida or hear another Friday Fabulous Florida. That's 10. Or 1, which is, oh my God, that was awful, total waste of time. I can't believe that Albert would even run those stories. Where is it on that scale of 1 to 10?
I'd say a 6, probably 6.
In true Albert fashion, a 6. Nice.
Albert, would you evaluate your general work first here on this show and then at your other job? We'll start with your other job. Your other job, which makes up the lion's share of your income and gives you all kinds of benefits, on a 10 scale, which is I work tirelessly, never stop, always thinking of new ways that I can help my job, things that they may never been thought of. I'm contacting supervisors and other administrative people to tell them all the great ideas that I have for my job. And 1 being, that would be 10. 1 is I barely show up. I show up late a lot, sort of get my job done, but barely. I'm always flirting with probably being let go. Okay, that's 1. I told you what 10 is on a 10 scale. How are you at your other job?
I'm probably like a 9.5, closer to a 10.
Wow! Wow. Is that right?
What?
I'm pretty
can't
important.
believe-
I'm pretty important at that other job.
Wow,
Morning.
that's impressive. Albert is a 9.5 at his other job.
Yeah.
So now to your side hustle, which is this job. 10 would be, I'm always looking for stories, pieces of video that I can push to Mark, maybe things that I've read. I'm always enterprising new ideas, maybe a new franchise for the show. That would be 10. 1 is I show up late, I barely do anything, I blast through stuff, forget to do things all the time, misspell stuff, don't care, on my way to the golf course. That would be 1. Where are you on the 10 scale for this show?
I'd say what did I rank on Florida? 6. It's consistent. I think I'm a 6 here.
Oh my God. Oh, geez.
Which is above average. If C is a 5, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I was really hoping for a 7, to be honest, but I couldn't even.
Some days
manage a
are 7. Some days are 7. Today I'm feeling like a 6, so I can reach that bar.
Albert, thank you.
Oh, some days are a 7. There, we should get a shirt that says "Some days are a 7." Yeah. I love it.
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
All right. By the way, speaking of shirts, this is our Born to Peacefully Resist t-shirt. You can get one. There are a bunch of different designs. This is just one of them. But the Born to Peacefully Resist emblem is on the front. It's at getmarkmerch.com. And there you can see it's been approved by cats all over the world. They love it. There is another version of the shirt that you see there. And then there's a new Born to Peacefully Protest shirt. And it's part of the Born to Peacefully Protest line that's also on our mugs. So we kind of love that font. This is all designed by Courtney. And if you buy something from the merch site at getmarkmerch.com, Courtney will actually drop you a note personally. Yeah, she'll drop you an email to acknowledge. And all communications that we send from the Mark Thompson Show are personal. We don't have any kind of like, you press, Alt-7 on your computer and it sends out the same message that everybody gets. No. When you join our Patreon or PayPal, I get an alert on my phone and I send you something back from my phone that I'm typing out personally. And because we appreciate everybody's support. Peacefully Resist. I love that mug.
Yeah, it's nice.
I want one of those mugs. I'm going to order some of those mugs today. We've got to buy them just like you do. But, and then the Mark Thompson Show logo, I guess you'd call that, on the side. So that's the latest on the merch line.
Just to
at
let you know,
getmarkmerch.com. Yes, ma'am.
I did a personal response to a listener last night, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a note from Thomas, who sent us a really nice message saying that he was banned from the Mark Thompson Show for admittedly some out-of-control anti-Trump posts in the chat.
Oh,
He
wow.
said,
I love it when you're angry.
He said, I mistakenly thought your channel was MAGA. I have since
They
subscribed
pay me a lot of
to
money
your,
for having attitude.
Yeah.
I have since subscribed to your show, and I find it very serious and insightful.
Wow.
I would like to
Wow.
be able to
Who is
participate
having
in the
that
chat.
conversation?
All right.
You
well, all
have
right.
my promise to be civil, he wrote. Please unban me.
Wow. So you had to
That was-
unban him.
It was a very thoughtful note, so I did. I found his name in the banned list, and I unbanned him. I'm giving him a second shot.
Wow. A second shot from Kim is very hard to come by,
Kim, how are you?
Thomas.
We'll
So
see
if
how
you're
he does.
watching, yeah.
Yeah.
She's I'm usually the one going, God, don't you think we should let this person out of the, whatever it is, YouTube jail? And Kim's like, I don't think so. I mean, I think he was really rough. I don't know. He may insulted other people in the chat. I think he should stay out. I was like, all right, I don't know. It's anyway.
I want to know how he thought this was a MAGA show.
I know.
You're right. Right.
Any of the content has.
What few minutes of the show could he have possibly witnessed to think that?
what were
He sounds
you saying?
repentant, says the lady bit.
Yeah.
But I will remind you, in the first week of this show, and then I want to get into stuff. We got a lot of stuff to get to, but in the first week of the show, we were given a strike. Now, when YouTube strikes a show, it's a big deal. It means that you're promulgating or putting out through your show something that's really heinous might be the wrong word, but unacceptable in the YouTube community. So they said that we said that the 2020 election was not legitimate, which of course we would never say. In fact, we had just the opposite view day after day after day. So we were wondering, how could they possibly have gotten that notion? This is a pretty serious thing. The show was just beginning. It was our third or fourth show. Like, we're trying to get off the launch pad, and this thing happens where they misinterpret something said. It's all done by AI, artificial intelligence, of course. So what they have with YouTube is they have a thing where you can appeal for a person to actually review the show to evaluate whether that was indeed a legitimate strike or whether it was not. So I appealed, and the person, now this goes to, how much they actually listened or watched. They upheld the AI, which is crazy. I mean, again, we would never, ever say what they said we said. And yet, the person upheld. So we on this channel, we have that. We're carrying that. It is our scarlet letter, even though it was completely. But that's the power of AI. And then a person doesn't overrule it, and you end up screwed. And that can apply to any number of things, because everything's being done by AI review now, right? Your health care, they're talking about Medicare submissions being all subject to AI review. So, anyway, that's our little history there, and congratulations on being unbanned, whoever you were. Thomas, I guess you said his name was.
Thomas,
Ray M. Hill, $10 for Albert's Absolute 10.
Big shout out.
Big shout out, Ray. Thank you for the super chat. Lucy McAllister, my favorite McAllister, into the super sticker today with a $20 super sticker.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I also want to just say that we are live with super stickers and super chats throughout, and those of you who have joined the struggle, I appreciate it, and thank you for contributing even after hours. You can contribute all the way down there at the bottom. There's the comments. There's a $sign, and you can be part of things that way as well. Stinky Charcoal, who joins us from the United Kingdom, just got back from the battle cruiser. Have a jolly smashing weekend, everyone. Oh, and good luck, America. Yes, good luck indeed is what we'll need.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, brothers and sisters across the pond. I have stuff from Air Force One when Donald Trump was returning from his meetings there. Very, I would say, broadcaster-centric, because it's all FCC and the control over media now as part of the new America. And we'll share some of those thoughts. It's interesting that the right in America is so much about wokeness and about, the government's control of so much. And, even Alex Jones used to, warn of the government and troops in the streets and all that. This is what we're seeing. I mean, you can't find me a part of American life where the government's hand isn't heavily involved in what's happening. Everything from commerce, where you'd normally find under traditional GOP administration, right? I mean, the tenets of conservatism are free market. Leave the government out of it. Less regulation, fewer taxes, and let the market decide. Now you have very much the government, its hand on the scale. You have a shakedown, essentially, of Intel to actually take a piece of the company if they want to do business in China. You have the takeover of TikTok by an American businessman, Larry Ellison, and a small consortium of other billionaire business people, essentially being gifted this huge social media platform. I mean, it goes way beyond that. We then end up with Jimmy Kimmel and the fact that based on the fact that you don't like being mocked, you're the president and you don't like the mockery, you insist that there be a way where this guy is removed, canceled, deleted. And so they find it through government control. Government leans on the stations, in this case, the Nexstar stations, the Sinclair stations, to not run Jimmy Kimmel. They should be as outraged as we are in the government. And if they want their merger to go through, they will play ball. And so they did. And as to Disney, they have their own acquisition underway. They're trying to acquire a streamer for sports. And if they want that acquisition to get approval from the FCC, again, from the government, then they'll play ball. And, well, lo and behold, Jimmy is removed, and there is no Kimmel show, and it looks as though there's even going to be a war on the other late-night comedians, and Colbert, of course, is already a casualty of everything I just mentioned. CBS and Paramount wanted their merger with Skydance. There are big things going on when it comes to mergers and acquisitions, and they also relate, as I mentioned to you yesterday, with Larry Ellison, the guy who's getting TikTok. He's going to take over, or wants, CNN, Discovery, that whole, he's going to arguably be more powerful in terms of control and in terms of reach than Rupert Murdoch is. So that's a little of what's happening in the new America.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Did you see the 12-foot golden Trump Bitcoin that was placed outside the Capitol last night? I didn't. Do we have is there a picture of that? Sushi Roll 07.
There is actually.
Here is, there's a lot of trolling that's going on. Here is the picture of Donald Trump holding his Bitcoin. I mean, sadly, it's right on cue. I mean, Donald Trump and the advent of crypto has become an overnight billionaire for real. He's padded billions of dollars onto his bottom line as a result of the meme coins. These meme coins that he's created, and of course the platform, which is run by Witkoff, who's handling, Witkoff was Donald Trump's golfing buddy. He's the real estate impresario, billionaire, right? No background in diplomacy. He handles all the diplomacy for negotiations around Russia, Middle East, etc. And his son and the Trump son run the platform on which you can buy any crypto you want and all the Trump crypto and crypto-related items like meme coins. So
Can I just say, this is 12 feet tall? It's a 12-foot tall statue funded by cryptocurrency investors. And the whole point of it, they say, is to provoke dialogue about the intersection of digital currency and traditional finance.
So this isn't a troll. This is to honor Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. It was unveiled, strategically timed to align with the Fed's announcement as it highlights Trump's outspoken support for cryptocurrencies. It's in the Capitol, 12-foot tall gold statue of Trump with his Bitcoin. Wow.
So this, again, is not a troll. This is to honor this president who's done so much for crypto. And he's taken crypto regulators away. So, there's no regulator now for crypto, which is a world of moving money around through and from dark money sources. So, again, you may be into crypto. I know a lot of people have made a fortune off of crypto. I was just talking to one of them last night. But I think it worth noting that the world of crypto is the dark world, which does provide a pipeline for moving money all around the world to and from sources that can be super questionable. Again, that doesn't mean that everybody who has crypto, it falls in that category. I'm just saying it's an awfully neat way to money oneself. Now, in the case of Donald Trump, I'll just quickly say, as you're aware, I believe it was the UAE that bought $2 billion worth of the meme on that platform that I mentioned, the one created by Witkoff's son and the Trump family. So there is money to be made on that, which is kind of like an E-Trade. Think of that, or Charles Schwab. So every transaction, there's money to be made. So the Trump family makes money either way, buying or selling of the meme coins or other crypto on, I think it's called World Liberty. So, well, that's really great. I mean, with that statue there, it renews my faith in the crypto world and the judgment of our great president. I do have a setback for Donald Trump. There is a setback for Donald Trump.
What?
I know. It seems incredible. I'm not happy about it either. I'm not happy about my Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, being rebuffed by the courts. But the courts have rebuffed Donald Trump, and I feature it. And it is our featured story in Law and Disorder.
In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
This is from Reuters. A federal judge today, just moments ago, struck Donald Trump's $15 billion defamation lawsuit down against the New York Times over its content. The content of the suit called decidedly improper. U.S. District Judge Stephen Merriday in Tampa, Florida, this happened.
What?
I know, that's his home court. He said that Trump's complaint violated a federal civil procedural review requirement, which is that a short and plain statement of why he should prevail should be what accompanies the suit. A complaint should, and this is a quote from the judge, fairly, precisely, directly, soberly, and economically inform the defendants of the nature and content of the claims. A complaint is not a public forum for vituperation and invective, two ding words, and not a protected platform to rage against an adversary. Merriday did give Trump 28 days to file an amended complaint of no more than 40 pages. The White House and Trump lawyers not saying anything in response to this development. We told you yesterday about the fact that in this complaint, there is just a screed that goes on about Donald Trump being this aggrieved party from the New York Times, which talked about his bankruptcies, talked about the fact that he'd inherited all this money and lost it, talked about The Apprentice and how it had reconstituted the image of Donald Trump as a successful businessman, and it had successfully done that, to the point that he was able to use that image and actually gain the presidency. I'm sort of summarizing, obviously, what they were saying. So Trump, in the lawsuit, he's saying this. In the complaint, he says, through his lawyers, and it was Donald Trump that was responsible for the success of The Apprentice, not Mark Burnett. As host and producer, it was Donald Trump who was successful as a producer and host to the point that The Apprentice was a #1 show on NBC. I mean, this is stuff of ego, right? Yeah.
Sounds like a Festivus general airing of grievances.
Thank you. It is very Festivus-like. So the judge in this case says, no, that's not what a lawsuit is. You have 28 days to actually present a reasonable legal complaint. Otherwise, this is over. And that is Law and Disorder.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey,
Let's be careful out there. The Mark Thompson Show.
Wow, I want to acknowledge Deb Stevens. Come on, Deb Stevens. A $100 super chat. Man, that is so helpful to our show, which is hanging by a thread.
I'm not gonna cry.
It really is cry territory. Mark, Kim, Albert, and Tony, here's for yesterday's demonetized show. Keep preaching the good word. We needed you. That's so cool. Thank you so much, Deb Stevens. Very generous, and very generous of Gloria Brown. Come on.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Gloria Brown with a super sticker for $50. Wow. You guys are just awesome. Thank you. Hey, I wish we didn't need you to help prop us up. But that's just the nature of this independent media forum. That lady Beatrice says, never mess with Sullivan versus New York Times. Just some advice for the emperor. Yeah, well, that was old school thinking. Now it's the new America. And Donald Trump takes every bit of media on. So, all right, we are continuing, and I believe
The Mark Thompson Show.
I believe I have a distinguished guest joining. This guest is someone who's a real doctor, ER doctor. And I will get back to Kimmel. I'll get to a lot of the other news of the day. Obviously, there's some substantial news that is related to the military. I'll get to that. But right now, here's the West Michigan ER physician, executive director of the Committee to Protect Healthcare. He's, for those who watch the show every day, you may recognize him. He's a returning contestant. He spent countless hours in shifts in the ER during the pandemic. He's a great, outspoken advocate for healthcare in America and can give us a window on what's happening with healthcare in America now. How about it for Dr. Rob Davidson, everyone?
Thanks.
Hello, sir. Yeah, it's so good to see you again. I really wanted to get you on this week with the developments at the CDC, so we can start there and broaden if you'd like. But give me a state of the state on this new CDC guidance when it comes to childhood vaccine schedules.
I mean, I think the state of the state is complete confusion, right? This ACIP panel acknowledged, I saw in the press today, that they're new at this and they don't know what they're doing. And that really is what has transpired over the last couple of days. I think today's still going on, but yesterday they spent a lot of time talking about the hepatitis B vaccine given to neonates in this country has decreased the number of children with hepatitis B from around 20,000 back in, I think, 1991. 2 decades later, there were 20 cases. Like, you can't find numbers like that. You couldn't make it up, right? And it's so significant because that's fewer kids getting liver cancer, permanent infection, lifelong infection, liver transplants. And so they talked a lot about this. They had some advisory folks there saying this is not a problem. This is settled science. And in the end, today they voted, I think, 11-1 to table the motion to actually vote on it. So they're not even going to make a decision because I think they've realized they're in over their heads on this, right? It's a problem when you have a group of people coming in with an agenda and then they're presented with actual data, maybe for the first time in their lives. I don't know, certainly the first time so publicly. So they did that. And then the other thing they did is sort of indirectly going after the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. There's a combination shot, MMRV, where you combine that with the chickenpox vaccine, varicella. And what that does is it saves the kid a shot, right? So they get one less poke when they come in at 1 year and then again around age 4 or so. And, only about 15% of parents do that anyways. They kind of prefer to stay with the old tried and true MMR. Tiny little increase in having fever and maybe even febrile seizures, which I can tell you after 25 years in the ER, a febrile seizure looks scary. It is only a manifestation of fever in a small child. It really doesn't result in any damage. It's not life-threatening. It's not anything parents should be terribly concerned about, but they anchored on that as the only bit of evidence, a tiny uptick, a statistically significant uptick in that. And that is why they now have essentially not recommended the MMRV, that combination.
I remember
it doesn't amount to much.
The MMR vaccine generally was seized upon by many anti-vaxxers as containing, I think, and they don't even use this, I think it's been a long time since this thimerosal, as I recall, was added. That was sort of seized upon as it got out of the zeitgeist, right? Oh, MMR, I heard there's a problem, et cetera. But that has been reconstituted now as a much safer vaccine. Is that my understanding?
Well, it wasn't not safe even with the thimerosal.
Okay.
It's a different type of mercury than mercury poisoning. I mean, the mercury we should worry about is the mercury in fish, right? From coal-fired power plants. That is where people get the mercury toxicity. You see, I had a patient who was eating tuna during the pandemic, thought he was being healthy, ended up with mercury poisoning because he was eating like 10 cans of tuna a day. And so this is what we should be worried about, coal-fired power plants, not this different version of mercury that was in there. But they got rid of it anyways because there was so much concern and confusion. But I think what these meetings
let me just stop you there, Rob, because I think that's a version of what we're seeing now. That's why I wanted to stop you. And that is, you're saying there was so much bad publicity in effect. There was so much messaging around mercury that they literally had to take it out, even though it wasn't producing any kind of ill effects. It was a different kind of mercury, right?
Absolutely. And that's part of the game plan for RFK and the anti-vax bunch, is just to, kind of make it all murky and muddy so people don't know what to do. And a certain group of parents are going to be confused by this. And choose not to protect their kid, not because they're bad parents or they don't love their child, but because they're getting these conflicting messages from the U.S. government, from the ultimate sayer of healthcare policy in this country. It's pretty sad.
So on some level, what's happening, you're saying, at the CDC and with these people who are now, instead of on the outside screaming about government, now it's the dog that catches the car. It's like, okay, but I don't know how to drive this thing. And that's really being played out, you're saying, in the public as well, where the public goes, I don't know now whether these vaccines are safe or not. I guess it's just easier not to mess with them, and then you end up with the kind of illnesses reemerging that you're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we're looking at, in the next 10, 20-year horizon, a lot of illnesses we've never seen, for people coming up in medicine having to learn things that they've never learned or never seen before because they start to reemerge.
Wow. It feels as though we're just taking such huge strides back.
Yeah.
And when it comes to science and medicine, I always feel as though that's a general evolution that only gets better. That's the great thing about science. You guys build on discoveries of the last generation, of the last year, et cetera, and you can refine treatments and vaccines. And I just think that's the exciting part of medicine.
Absolutely. I mean, I think physician means, I'm going to skip back on that, but it is the practice of medicine, lifelong. Sure. You are learning. We do learning, continuing medical education every year. It's required of us to keep our licenses and to keep our board certifications in every specialty, because medicine, the data changes and we change as a result of it. We don't become fixed in a belief system. And that's what people expect of their physicians. And it really is what we should expect of the agency tasked with, promoting health in this country. And they've kind of abandoned that.
Albert, can you rally for Dr. Rob and myself the Susan Monaraz testimony? The part, we ran it yesterday, I think. You can just probably find it on yesterday's show if you want to, or whatever. I just want to get your reactions. We'll get to it in a second when Albert gets it organized. But I'm concerned about what's happening at the CDC. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about, and public policy generally. But extend that, if you would, to things that we're having to deal with or likely having to deal with from a public policy perspective, which are associated with pandemics and emerging epidemics. There have to be policies in place, I think, to handle these things. That's generally what sort of the disposition has been toward these sort of rising threats, health threats to America.
Yeah, absolutely. You expect there to be people in place that are thinking about these emerging threats. You expect that any available technology that can help us deal with these threats is being utilized, being researched, being deployed. Them pulling research from mRNA vaccines because they gave mRNA vaccines a bad name during the pandemic. Again, this is the call coming from inside the House. The folks that created all the distrust now are in charge of making the decisions. And that's putting us at risk. We don't know avian flu. There have been human cases. There hasn't been human-to-human transmission. If that were to occur and viruses mutate, that happens, we would be better off being able to develop a vaccine very quickly using a platform like the mRNA platform. And they are kind of tying our hands behind our backs, so we can't do that.
I want to ask you about mRNA and the mRNA platform that you reference. I want to ask you why it's such a good platform to develop some of these things you've talked about. But before I do, I want to quickly look at the official who RFK Jr. had expressed such great confidence in. She was confirmed. She was head of the CDC, and then he asked her to fire a bunch of people and to blindly rubber stamp and sign off on a vaccine schedule or a rejection of a vaccine schedule. And she said, I'm not going to do that until I see some evidence that, supports that. Here she is in testimony in Congress.
I believe preventable diseases will return. And I believe that we will have our children harmed for things that we know they do not need to be harmed by. Polio, measles, diphtheria, whooping cough.
The stakes laid bare by fired CDC Director Dr. Susan Monaraz over the future of the nation's vaccine policy. In August, 29 days after he called her scientific credentials unimpeachable, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dismissed his handpicked Senate-confirmed choice over vaccines.
He just wanted blanket approval. Okay. And if I could not commit to approval of each and every one of the recommendations that would be forthcoming, I needed to resign.
Menards told the Senate committee she refused to pre-approve the decisions of a vaccine advisory panel without science or data. Several new members of that committee, selected by Kennedy, share his vaccine skepticism.
I was fired for holding the line on scientific integrity, but that line does not disappear with me.
2 weeks ago, Kennedy told another Senate committee Menards lied about her firing.
Did you tell the head of the CDC that if she refused to sign off on your changes to the childhood vaccine schedule, that she had to resign?
No, I told her that she had to resign because I asked her, are you a trustworthy person? And she said no.
Menards also said Kennedy disparaged the nation's top health agency.
He called CDC the most corrupt federal agency in the world, emphasized that CD employees were horrible people. He said that CDC employees were killing children and they don't care. He said during the COVID outbreak, CDC told hospitals to turn away sick COVID patients until they had blue lips before allowing them to get treatment.
Menards said Kennedy's assertions are not true. Some committee Republicans zeroed in on the COVID vaccine.
Does the COVID vaccine reduce hospitalization for children under 18?
It can.
It doesn't.
Doctor and committee chairman Bill Cassidy wants to hear from Kennedy himself.
I think Secretary Kennedy has to come and address this specifically.
All right, with that, Ann
So
joins us now.
that's a good overview of everything that is wrapped up in the CDC right now. Your thoughts, Doctor?
I mean, on display is a very serious person with integrity, with well-earned credentials that, frankly, Democrats on that committee were concerned about, wondering,
Right.
is this person going to be just, kowtowing to everything RFK Jr. wants, and didn't vote for her, right? They were concerned about this because that's what this guy has done thus far. And she proved them wrong. I think Senator Whitehouse apologized for that vote. And so I think you're seeing a serious person of integrity and just completely unserious people like RFK Jr., like really almost all of the Republicans on that panel, I think, save Senator Cassidy, who's a physician. But even Senator Marshall, who's also a physician, made some analogy about a football coach and an athletic director and different belief systems, and sort of suggesting that believing vaccines have saved millions of lives somehow falls into the category of a belief system that we can just accept one or the other and kind of part our ways. It's like one is true, one is reality, and one is just some kooky scheme that RFK has used to enrich himself and now to take over the U.S. health policy.
Yeah, it's weird that that's what I kind of was talking about with science before, that that science is so informed by data, and that all of a sudden we get into, as you say, this squishy sort of what you believe, what you have faith in, et cetera. It just, I promised I'd get back to, in the last couple of minutes, just one little piece of science here, which is associated with the mRNA technology. You were just talking about the fact that, rejecting the mRNA technology as viable for treatments on something like bird flu. Well, it's not treatments, but, inoculations to prevent the population from succumbing to any rising pandemics or epidemics. Can you speak to why the mRNA technology is so powerful?
Yeah, it's because basically if you can get a piece of the genetic code of whatever you're trying to vaccinate against, you can insert it into this RNA. It's this sequence, it's like this the blueprint almost, except it isn't the blueprint. It's what the blueprint makes inside the body to then make proteins which make the antibodies which fight it. And so you can do that, put that into someone's body, it gets made into the antibodies to fight the infection or to prevent the infection from ever occurring, and then it gets eaten up, basically dissolved. The mRNA goes away. All the craziness about it getting incorporated, it can't get into your DNA. It's a totally different molecule. It's not possible. And so the ability to do that so quickly, I mean, you can take the platform and within months, probably within weeks or even days, you can have a viable vehicle. You then have to test it and purify it, make sure that it's doing what you want it to do. But, unlike growing out things in certain cultures, and it is like orders of magnitude faster and more accurate and more effective than sort of the old technology we've been doing for years, which works great for these stable types of infections that we've been, inoculating against for years and years. But when something is coming up on you and taking lives quicker than you can imagine, like COVID was doing very early on, it was a miracle. Again, something Trump should have run on when he ran for re-election, something that should have been his calling card to get back, into office. And strangely, the singular achievement of his presidency that actually helped people is something he has been very quick to abandon.
Yeah, it's odd. I
Very
mean, that's
strange.
again, that's a reflection of public outcry and hearing enough public outcry and controversy that he goes, yeah, those are my people who are now making noise about it, so I want to step away from it as well. When he actually got COVID, they threw everything but the kitchen sink at it, right? I mean, it was the COVID vaccine. Now, the COVID vaccine that has been, I guess the government isn't going to pay for the COVID vaccine from, you can still get it, but I think you have to be 65 or older, or you have to have some comorbidities. Maybe you can update me on that, but I know that the financial part of it isn't going to be paid, not going to be picked up by the government.
Yeah, as far as we know, that is true, right? I think part of the problem is we don't know exactly how this is going to play out. Certain states have taken action. I know here in Michigan, our governor has issued a directive, but we need a little more clarification on that even. I'm a physician. My wife's a physician. She works in a clinic, family practice, and she doesn't know who she can get it for. It keeps asking the people up the chain in the system who also don't know, who they can provide it to, how they're going to get it, how you get a prescription to a pharmacist. Then pharmacists can decide not to do it because they're maybe afraid they're going to run afoul. I mean, it's been completely turned upside down, and you're going to have, whatever it comes out, you're going to have a significant number of people who want to get vaccinated who won't be able to do so. And I think, you're going to see, we're already crowded in hospitals. We already can't get people in beds. It's going to get worse again. Really sad to see it come this way.
I'm going to ask you a question for the older boys and girls, and that is about the pneumonia and RSV inoculations.
Yeah.
Give me a moment on those and how you feel about their efficacy and whether they would be something that you'd recommend for most older adults.
Absolutely. I try not to give mass medical advice, but on things like this, it's pretty easy, right? If you're an older adult, if you're somebody with, chronic lung disease or other pre-existing conditions that would put you at higher risk if you were to get pneumonia or you were to get RSV, we usually have always thought of RSV as a disease of infants and neonates, and it does cause significant, sickness in that group, but increasingly recognized as a significant infection in older folks and folks with chronic lung diseose. So absolutely,
what is the technology,
doctor.
Dr. Rob? What is Dr. Robert Davidson? What is the technology behind those? Are those mRNA developed inoculations?
I don't believe so. I believe they're developed on more standardized platforms, but then they were done over a number of years, not responding to this emerging infection like COVID or like potentially avian flu.
So there was more time essentially to
absolutely,
develop them.
Yeah.
Wow, we have mad respect for the work you do. Love that you come through, and really appreciate your thoughts on what's happening at the CDC. And it's changing week to week, as you say. No, it's unclear to the public who's in charge, and who actually has the credentials to make recommendations that we should take seriously, and then who's just a talking head in the Trump administration who looks good and throws a bunch of. The thing about science is you can throw a bunch of stuff at us that we don't really understand, and we just kind of nod and go, okay, there must be a problem with it then, or whatever it might be. But essentially what you're saying today is we don't know. Nothing really has changed on some level, except for the fact that it looks like government support of certain vaccines has likely gone away.
Yeah, government support, and as a result, we don't know how insurance companies are going to handle this as well. And in the end, the CDC director, the current acting director, will have to approve these recommendations that come out of the ACIP panels. But it sure seems like Dr. Menarez was not willing to do that. I guess we'll have to see if the acting director is willing to do that. I haven't heard much from that person, so we'll have to see. But I appreciate being here. I appreciate in today, with so much going on that needs to be talked about, that you do want to talk about these issues happening, because I think they are really important and people need to stay on top of them.
It's easy to lose a lot of plots because stuff is coming at us so quickly and so loudly. But this is key, because all of these emerging health issues can quickly overtake everything else. I mean, when people start getting sick in large numbers. So thanks, Dr. Rob. Appreciate it. Dr. Rob Davidson, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have a link to your work underneath this video. So thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
All right,
Appreciate
Dr. Rob Davidson. Thank you, my friend.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He is just so good, so good. I didn't even get into a conversation about Medicaid with him. I wanted to do that. The Medicaid cuts, I think they still have to, they kick in a big way in another year or so. And I think they'll very much affect some of the work that he does because he works at these rural hospitals. I wanted to, I just am seeing this now. Hi, Mark, Kim, and Albert. It sounds like population control to me, Mark. What does Dr. Rob think about population control? Chaplain Fred says with a $10 super chat. Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, that's a kind of almost philosophical, administrative, political view. The population control issue is very much part of the broader Curtis Yarvin informed narrative that's real, okay? It's a Peter Thiel narrative. They don't talk about it openly that way, but sort of the technologist taking over, the CEO taking over, that the country is run that way by technologists and a CEO, and then you get into the weeds which are associated with what you're talking about, or at least hinting about, which is population control. Maybe for the next conversation. We have other guests coming in the pipeline who also might be suitable to weigh in on that. Susan Roberts says, hi, y'all, or hi, all. Glad we have Newsom, Obama, Jon Stewart, and others that are speaking out. Yeah, last night on the late night shows, there was quite a bit of, it was kind of faux supplication, like pretend worshiping of Donald Trump, which is pretty funny. We can't run it for you, of course, because of issues with monetization, but it was sort of funny to watch them all, in support of Jimmy Kimmel, obviously, talk about Trump and sort of lavish praise on him. But it, of course, is all because of a deeply serious issue, which is the government control of media and information, and that they can erase somebody like this from the public forum. And there are a lot of other people who depend on the Jimmy Kimmel show for their livelihood.
Yeah.
They're grips, they're lighting people, they're producers, they're writers, they're audience coordinators. It's an immense show, an immense broadcast. And I mean, there are unions involved. There's a union in Hollywood that is protesting and pushing back against the government over just this. You can't just end these shows overnight. So this
apparently you can, because now Trump is saying the FCC could revoke the licenses of TV broadcasters that give him too much bad publicity. So anybody then who criticizes Trump, talks in a negative fashion about the president, out.
Yeah, I mean, what Kim is talking about is so very true. And we actually have an interview. I was going to play these interviews for Michael Shure and Jim Avila on Air Force One, where basically Trump makes those remarks that Kim's alluding to. He said that the FCC should revoke broadcasters' licenses of anyone who's against me, and they, meaning the late night hosts, give me only bad publicity. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away, he said. It'll be up to Brendan Carr, he said. I think Brendan Carr is outstanding. He's a patriot. He loves our country, and he's a tough guy. So we'll have to see. Trump also said of the evening shows on network TV, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party, he said. The reality is that this is a flavor of what we see regularly with Donald Trump, which is once he sees the success of leaning on, in this case, Disney, ABC, through the FCC and Sinclair and Nexstar stations, realizing that the government has to greenlight acquisitions that these companies want, that the government and government involvement is critical, he realizes he has leverage. We started with Colbert. He said it. We started with Colbert. Then we got Kimmel. The other guys are next. And now we'll get to the network news.
Even when Ted Cruz, who I guess today on a podcast came out and said this is like the mafia, coming out against the Trump administration slamming down free speech. When Ted Cruz, disagrees, you really have crossed a line here.
Right, exactly. And there are people on the right who are standing up for free speech. Vilma Devlin with a $5 super chat. She's an OG of the show. What about criticisms of Trump during an election? Will candidates not be able to criticize Trump? Interesting. Brendan Carr, part of Project 2025 gang, says Jane O. It's amazing how the Project 2025 people have taken over. Russell Vote is Project 2025, right? And the Heritage Foundation is Project 2025. I'll remind you, because it's kind of easy to lose track of a lot of stuff. The Heritage Foundation, they're a really intense right-wing group. Take away women's access to abortion, right? They have any number of policies that are associated with clamping down on the academic community, on the universities and colleges. You've seen it all played out. The Heritage Foundation tenets are so right-wing that you would you'd be shocked if it were all put into place. And you know what? It's all in Project 2025, and it is getting put in place. It really is. One brick at a time, they are building it out. And so the Heritage Foundation is also the beneficiary of what? It has very much relevance to what we're talking about. They are the beneficiaries of the way in which Donald Trump went after the law firms in this country. And you have major law firms in this country that agreed to do tens of millions of dollars of pro bono work for free for Donald Trump and Donald Trump-related causes. And among the beneficiaries of that deal, the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation, they have hundreds of millions of dollars, the Heritage Foundation. They're not sitting there with a tin can on the street. Hundreds of millions of dollars that they use to try to get right-wing policies placed into American governmental administrative strategies. As I say, successful in taking away a woman's right over her reproductive freedoms, right? And they're very much about clamping down on dissenting speech. They are going to get pro bono legal work from major, I'm talking about high-end legal institutions, high-end law firms. They are going to be the beneficiaries of that pro bono work. The Heritage Foundation. It's insane. So you're going to get this pro bono work as a result of Donald Trump leaning on these law firms early on in the administration, like in the first month or two. And now those law firms are doing work for them. So again, this is how America has changed. There has essentially been a shakedown of media, of academia, and of the legal world. And they've successfully done it. And this platform that I'm on right now may change. They may change the algorithm. They've already made it more difficult to achieve any kind of threshold in terms of numbers, so they can mess with a livelihood that way. If something happens to us, I guess you could go to our website, themarkthompsonshow.com, and we'll tell you where we end up. Maybe we'll go to Substack, maybe we'll go to a Patreon thing, but I like the YouTube world, and I like the fact that this is a free audio podcast. We want to give it to you for free in a PBS NPR way. In other words, we're underwritten by all of those who have derived some benefit and continue to derive some benefit from both the show, the community, etc. But all I'm trying to say is it works. So Trump's shakedown of Disney, of Sinclair, of Nexstar through the FCC chairman, totally successful. And now what is he saying? Yeah, we're going to go after the nightly news too. They're pretty rough on Trump. And you see the way in which they've already turned down the flame in terms of any kind of criticism. Look at what he said to Jonathan Karl. I mean, in that, I'm going to play you the video in just a minute, where he said, you know, you're not so, maybe we'll go after you, John. You have hate in your heart or anger in your heart toward me. Anyway, that's a little bit of an overview. I don't know, I got off of that one comment, got me off on those things, but I will, I'll talk more about it with Michael and Jim, because I want to review a little of what happened in England, and I want to review a little bit what happened. I want to review what happened with Trump as he faced the press, and he's kind of riffing. You get a sense of what he's thinking, but he's really feeling it now. He's really feeling his power. So we'll get into it, as I say, and I'll share the video with Michael and Jim. And at minimum, we'll have Michael along. I'm hoping we'll have Michael and Jim both. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
I must also say, in this little break, that I'm enjoying my Coachella Valley coffee. I've ground it for perfection. Kim, are you going tea or coffee today?
Vanilla tea. Oh,
yes,
so good.
Baby, vanilla tea. Oh, is there anything?
Delicious.
It occurs to me, first of all, you can get Coachella Valley coffee, the best coffee on earth, straight up. Organic coffee.
It's never been anything like this.
Hand roasted. And there is tea curated. Everything is curated personally for you. This is a boutique roastery. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Try it. You'll love it. And there are tasting notes and profiles under everything on the site. The Eclipse, the Sunrise Blend. It's all terrific. The important thing, the Eclipse is a French roast. Oof, so good. The important thing is, as you check out, use our discount code MARKT and get 10% off anything on the site. Some people love their merch too. So and you get 10% off that as well.
Everything
it's all
on the
organic
site.
from women-owned farms and businesses across the world. Again, there's subscriptions. You can subscribe. You can get monthly deliveries of coffee. It's or tea or spices. And the Clarity Blend, I've already told you, so damn delicious.
That's the lion's mane, yeah.
Ooh,
I will say throughout the rest of the day, it doesn't feel quite right to take a sip of my tea without the harp music in the background. Like there needs to be the fan. Where's the fanfare?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's in your head after this. Yeah.
And then there's poor Michael Shure, who doesn't even get to drink anything
Well,
when the harp music goes on.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Really
Well, the
sad.
truth is, we have new mugs coming out that are probably even more Michael Shure's jam. You know, the new ones are really cool. What were you showing them before, right, Albert? At the Get Mark merch site. Check out these new mugs.
Don't
He'll really
look
like.
away,
He'll
Michael
really
Shure.
like
You're-
not getting these.
You're never
Yeah.
getting one of these.
The new merch mugs, Born to Peacefully Protest.
Yeah.
That's one of them. And then the second one is just, it just says peacefully resist. Is that what it says? Or peacefully protest? Is that peacefully resist?
Peacefully resist, yeah.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah. It really, and the font is really cool. Gosh. Well, I may have to.
Nothing.
I may have to say.
Oh, Michael Shure.
Day, sir.
Oh, wow.
Man.
It's really, really
He's-
rough.
You know, the guy does nothing but show up every week
He does.
offering
You're right.
the most insightful commentary,
It's true.
and he gets nothing.
I have mad
Nothing.
respect.
Image is
I have-
hideous.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I feel bad for him.
I think there's a hint of desperation. I really do.
Maybe you think he's showing up out of desperation.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens.
I love it.
This is the Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
No.
All right, please welcome a guy who has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever even know. He's the brilliant and funny Michael Shure, everyone.
Thank you, Kim. It's good to be here.
Michael Shure, this is a disturbing week with the
Are we
the
still talking
rise.
about the mug? Because I would agree.
We're still talking about the fact that you do not have a mug.
Well,
Yeah.
they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Casey. We like you delight in it, so don't pretend that you don't. And now there's a new mug coming out. So no one's going to want the old mugs. And I'm not.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, they've actually become collector's items. So yeah, I don't know. Michael Shure has concepts of a mug.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan.
Yeah, and you have concepts of a mug.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've gotten that done. We've gotten it out of the way. I'm fine.
All right. It is. There's a lot here, and the removal of Kimmel from late night television is the extension of a powerful arm of government over media. We're seeing the control of so many different parts of our lives that have always existed independent of government or with minimal government involvement. The law, academics and universities, and media perhaps should take center stage because so much of the information that Americans get comes through this that is now being suppressed. I wanted to play for you the interview that Donald Trump did and kind of that, impromptu Air Force One thing he does.
Yeah.
Those who are listening, I'll try to repeat anything that you may not be able to hear but those watching, we have it subtitled for you. But this is how Trump actually broadens his view and focus as to things he may also want canceled beyond the late night host. Go ahead, Albert.
And ask Brendan Carr to weigh in on other late night hosts that you have.
Are you going to ask Brendan Carr to weigh in on other late night hosts that you have said should be off the air?
Network television, there is a licensing. I'll give you an example. I read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I get 97% negative, and yet I won easily. I won all 7 swing states, popular, I won everything. And if they're 97% against, they give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It would be up to Brendan Carr. He had no talent. He's a whack job, but he had no talent. And more importantly than talent, he had no, because a lot of people have no talent, they get ratings. But he had no ratings. His ratings were worse than Colbert, I think. They got rid of Colbert, which was a good thing to do. And look, that's something that should be talked about for licensing too. When you have a network and you have evening shows and all they do is hit Trump, that's all they do. If you go back, I guess they haven't had a conservative on in years or something, somebody said. But when you go back and take a look, all they do is hit Trump. They're licensed. They're not allowed to do that. They're an arm of the Democrat Party.
So that is the way he sees it. Clearly, he felt super bothered by the mockery that he gets every night, but that's something that's, a late night tradition. But just speak to this general view he has now that, he can now, I think he's really feeling his power, Michael. He can go after a lot more than Jimmy Kimmel.
I mean, I would feel my power if I were Donald Trump now too, because he's being given the power, but through deferment by the people who are able to grant it to him, whether it's the courts, whether it's the places like the FCC, like the FEC, like the Fed. I guess that's the FED. I think there's a reason that he thinks these things. He has no appreciation for history in good or bad ways. If he knew what Richard Nixon was putting up with, if he knew how Chevy Chase would come on to television mocking Gerald Ford, how Jimmy Carter was mocked, how George Bush was mocked, that's what the late night tradition is. That's what comedy is. And Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are actually quite good. They're off by about 2% from where they were. But when you consider that nearly 2 million people a night watch Jimmy Kimmel at a time, I mean, you can't compare that to what they would have been in 1993. We are past that. era now. People have cut the cord. Late night television, sitting down on the couch, that is unfortunately going to be quaint pretty soon. But Jimmy Kimmel, because he is in fact so funny, objectively so, and clever, and he gets a lot of people watching his show every night. And Trump hates that too, because he hates that people watch someone who does something as well as Jimmy Kimmel, during which Jimmy Kimmel will mock Donald Trump. So it's not even complicated, Mark. I mean, this is what we know about Donald Trump. He wants to control everything, including wanting to be loved and accepted. It's been running in his blood since he came out of Queens and wanted to be from Manhattan. It's the exact same thing. He wanted to be in Hollywood. He can't. So what does he do? He forces his way down the throats of everybody else by mere fact that he has so many acolytes and so many people who adore him and kowtow to him. And that may be curious, but that's true. And he's able to do these things because of it.
I was mentioning right before you came on that, that pro bono work that he essentially extorted from major law firms in America.
Yeah.
One of them has begun that pro bono work for the Heritage Foundation. I mean, this again, they have to be Trump-aligned causes.
Yeah.
And so the Heritage Foundation, they have hundreds of millions, I think $400 million already. And, they're not exactly, hurting and needing pro bono work. They're going to get pro bono work from top law firms now, again, to pursue the Heritage Foundation causes, which, as you are well aware, are extreme right wing.
It's remarkable because this is all because of threat, right? I mean, and look at who came in and look at how Jimmy Kimmel happened. Nexstar, which is a conservative-leaning company, owns some ABC stations, and among many others. And full disclosure, I worked for them for a while because they also own News Nation. They look like they want to maybe buy ABC one day. I mean, those have been rumors, so I shouldn't even say if they're not on the record as saying that, but the rumors.
Well, at minimum, they want more stations, right? So they want
to. Well, they want more stations. They want to get Tegna. I mean, but that's different. They were talked about as one of the suitors for ABC when Disney talked about spinning it off. So what does Bob Iger and what does Dana Walden, who run Disney, what did they do? They turn around and they say, yep, we're taking Kimmel off. Is that to appease Nexstar, who wants to appease Trump so that when they do all of this acquisition work, they don't want the antitrust stuff to happen? Maybe. I certainly wouldn't put it past them. So there is a chain of both self-interest and wanting to appease Trump in order to fulfill that self-interest. And TV, being that late night television, is in, let's say, the winter of its years or the late fall of its years. I think that to that end, they see it as expendable. You can fire Stephen Colbert and it doesn't devastate the network. You can suspend indefinitely Jimmy Kimmel and it doesn't devastate the network. What they also guarantee, or whoever guarantees, is the single greatest rated show to be on television in 20 years will probably be when Jimmy Kimmel gets his microphone back, whenever that is, and on whatever network it will be.
It's not just even Nexstar. I mean, this is a weird business situation in which there are multiple layers, all of which require some kind of connection to government approval. So you mentioned Nexstar, I mentioned the Sinclair stations, their right-wing ownership, and you mentioned Disney. You talked about Iger. Well, Disney's trying to acquire NFL Network. Okay, so they need Justice Department approval for that. So you see how there are these multiple layers, as I say, but they all require the rubber stamp or the approval of the Trump administration. And you can't really run afoul of the Trump administration or they will block your ability to do business. And they've shown that they'll actually do it. These are not just empty threats.
Yeah, there's no question. And they have very recently, done it. They say, they follow through with what they say, right? They use the courts as much as they can, or they fly in the face of the courts. So the courts are forced to be in emergency docket situation from the top Supreme Court all the way down to the circuit and appeals courts. And that's what they do. And they do it pretty well.
I was going to mention as well to many of you, this may be a body blow, but I stand with my ladies on The View. Brendan Carr suggesting that the FCC should look into ABC's The View.
Yeah.
He appeared on Scott Jennings' radio show yesterday where he suggested the FCC should look into whether ABC's The View is a bona fide news show, to use his words. A show that is exempt from the so-called equal time rule, which argues broadcast stations and programs need to provide equal time to candidates of different political parties. This is the quote: "I would assume you can make the argument that The View is a bona fide news show, but I'm not so sure about that."
Well, I'm not sure the definition exists anymore of what a bona fide news show is. And what they're able to do is they're able to exercise that on broadcast TV and not on cable. So people will come out and say, well, what about Fox? What about Fox? The rules are a bit different for cable broadcasters. And that's the luxury that the Foxes and the far right networks have that the places like ABC don't have.
On issues like this, that is absolutely true. And he says, I think it's worthwhile to have the FCC look into whether The View and some of these other programs that you have still qualify as bona fide news programs and therefore exempt from the equal opportunity regime that Congress has put in place. So this, but as you say, it's really technology that's changed everything, because these broadcast networks, they go over the public airwaves is the thinking. And so you need the government, which is, again, an extension of the people, at least that was the supposed plan, and their control over the public airwaves necessitates that news programs offer equal time. But as the technologies change, people are on cable TV, people stream now, people watch stuff on their phone, they completely, I should say, more completely find themselves irrelevant maybe in a few years. But it's interesting that still on all the merger stuff, which is related to this technology, Michael, this is why I went through that little run, because they want to stay relevant, these various networks, they are acquiring streamers in increasing numbers. That's what this is about as well. And the streamer acquisitions do require FCC approval. And so you see the long arm of the FCC involved in all of this.
Yeah, and this guy, Brendan Carr, is on a mission, clearly. And he was sent on that mission. And whether there was a quid pro quo when he took the job or not, this is what he's doing now, and Trump is deferring to him a great deal. I mean, you heard him in that press conference, and it's going to continue. That's what we're dealing with now until we are not. And that's, he wants to tilt everything to his favor in ways that we have not before seen. And there is, every president tries to tilt things in their favor. They don't like negative coverage. They want things that they believe in to happen. There's never been anyone who has done it to this degree on a daily basis. In our memory, certainly, I can't speak of what Warren Harding did when he was in the White House, but nobody has said that it was anything like this, right?
Yeah, well, this is I would say that the Project 2025 strategy is well in place, and there's never been anything like this complete takeover in a methodical and well-strategized way.
There's never been anything like this.
All right, show me Albert, in the gaggle interviews that they did there in the UK, where everybody's shouting stuff at Trump, you see a lot revealed in the riff. And then I want to talk a bit about the Charlie Kirk stuff. But first, I want to show you this. Again, this is in the conversation. He starts with an Australian interviewer, and then he ends up with Jonathan Karl. Go ahead.
That is appropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. Your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
Well,
go ahead, John.
Okay, maybe you
can set a nicer tone.
The UAE does a deal. What does it want in return?
Quiet.
Mr. President, what are you hearing about the operation in Gaza, the Israeli operation? Are you concerned?
Well, I'm hearing that they want to go in, and I'm also hearing that Hamas wants to take our 20 hostages plus dead bodies. They have about 32 of them, and they want to put them in the way of any attack. And nobody's happy about that situation. It came out yesterday. I'm sure you saw that. They want to Supposedly, they've taken the hostage out of deep caves and tunnels, and they're bringing them, putting them on the front line. That's, nobody's heard of that one for a few centuries.
You saw that the UN said that Israel is guilty of genocide and have committed acts of genocide in Gaza.
They voted on that?
They have a new report out saying multiple acts of genocide.
When it comes to a vote, we'll see what happens. That'll come to a vote, but we'll see what happens.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
You probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be fair. It hasn't been fair. And the radical left has done tremendous damage to the country. But we're fixing it. We have right now the hottest country anywhere in the world. And remember, 1 year ago, our country was dead. And now Washington, D.C. is fixed, and I fixed it. The mayor was fine. The mayor was just fine, okay? The mayor had the sick city for many years. She's been mayor for many years. The one that fixed it was me and my people. And it is so
Very
safe.
good, Albert. You get a vibe. You know, again, a year ago, you know, America was a 6. Now we're a 10. You know, I mean, there's the general propaganda and the machine that Trump is. But then there's what he was talking about when he turns on Carl and says, "We may go after you. You have hate in your heart." It was I found it sort of a chilling dictatorial flex.
Yeah, it's not new to me. I mean, going after the Australian, then telling him to be quiet, going after John Carl. These are all things he's done in the past, talking about how he's made the country better. I think that lives in his mind. But, you know, to that extent, he is also saying that free speech, you know, he said it in a White House press conference. You have to realize these getting on Marine One press gatherings are much different than the White House press conferences, where the pool reporters there are handpicked by Donald Trump, the ones that go into the Oval Office. So you saw someone asking if he was going to go, if he thinks Antifa should be looked at as a terrorist organization. A right-wing reporter standing next to Brian Glenn, Marjorie Taylor's boyfriend, who is saying the exact same sorts of things. He's the one who asked the question if Zelensky is dressed appropriately to be in the Oval Office. Right. That's what happens when you craft the news toward the agenda you want. And then what can you do with the others? You can just sit and pick on them. And that's what he does. It's a demeaning, horrible thing. It is not at all presidential. The press corps should be aggressive and shouldn't be cowed by a president who speaks down to them. And they didn't. I mean, John Carl didn't take the bait, to his credit. He then went and asked the question again. And I don't know how strong a question it was, because the UN hasn't voted, but it doesn't matter. He didn't get involved in the back and forth with Trump. And that's what reporters have to do.
Let me ask you about Charlie Kirk now and the House voting in favor of this GOP resolution. I mean, it was voted on in favor of, there were many Democrats who voted for it, right? Condemning political violence and celebrating Charlie Kirk. It was one of those things which was wrapped in decrying political violence at the same time that you celebrate Charlie Kirk. So if you don't support it, is the thinking, I'm sure that this was the calculus. And because Mike Johnson was already saying stuff like this, like, well, this is a law that talks about political violence and how dangerous it is and decries it. And if the Democrats want to vote against that, I guess they can. But it was the celebration of Charlie Kirk with the complexities associated with Charlie Kirk's messages that the Democrats were clearly reluctant to endorse. Nonetheless, they did in large enough numbers that I believe it passed.
Yeah, and what you're seeing at play there, too, is a Republican Party that's starting to deal with how to figure out MAGA going forward. So Charlie Kirk's death changes MAGA big time. It hurts J.D. Vance. it was he was somebody. They're clearly afraid to piss anybody off, the right in America right now, especially Donald Trump. And since Donald Trump likes J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance and Charlie Kirk got J.D. Vance on the ticket, and Trump likes Charlie Kirk, there is a solid base right there. Right now, J.D. Vance doesn't have Charlie Kirk anymore. And what it does is it emboldens others who will run for president, certainly for the nomination, the Republican nomination, to be able to tap into MAGA, to support Trump or support the words of Charlie Kirk at different times and vote on things like this, but also have a different plan to get to the nomination. And they're not going to care less about J.D. Vance. What they liked about J.D. Vance was that he had Charlie Kirk in his back pocket. He doesn't have that anymore. So I think you're going to see Republicans behaving a little differently on the national front and certainly on the ambitious front because of that. So these votes that come up, they are votes to be able to say, I supported Charlie Kirk, but I'm going to go against J.D. Vance next time as well. Not all of them, and maybe no House members will run for president, but it's the very idea of it.
It's a tough one for everybody because Charlie Kirk was unapologetic, had strong views of pushing back against racial civil rights and talking about.
It shouldn't actually be tough, and it's only tough because there is this sheriff who thinks that whatever he thinks is right is right. I mean, if you look at the city manager in Birmingham, Alabama during the civil rights movement, Bull Connor, it wasn't a tough one. It was only tough because nobody wanted to piss off Bull. And a lot of them went along with what he was doing. It's the same sort of thing. It's not even that tough right now. It's not tough to say that Charlie Kirk was a bad guy and he said bad things. But you can't say it now. You can't even allude to it as Jimmy Kimmel did in ways, and then be without being silenced. It's a very,
well, to be fair, Jimmy Kimmel didn't even say he's a bad guy. He said that people were trying to claim their own narrative, which is true. Both the left and the right were trying to claim their own narrative.
And days earlier, he very appropriately mourned Charlie Kirk. So
Sure.
You're unquestionably right, Mark. He didn't say he was a bad guy, but it's the notion that you could even speak any kind of ill about these people who have been martyred, and it's
interesting because even in the report that usually accompanies the questions about Jimmy Kimmel and the cancellation, the suspension, I mean, across the board, networks and I've heard it on NPR, et cetera. Jimmy Kimmel, who was suspended for his remarks about Charlie Kirk. Well, you can frame it that way, but the reality is it was his remarks about Donald Trump that got him suspended. It was Charlie Kirk was perhaps the pivot, but it was the mockery of Donald Trump mourning Charlie Kirk's murder by making stating something innocuous and then pointing to construction on the White House lawn of the new ballroom. That was the thing that was being mocked at that moment.
That's fair.
The fourth stage of grief, construction. The first is demolition, then it's construction. He was mocking that. So I'm just saying, framing it as they have been doing it as well. His remarks about Charlie Kirk. Kimmel didn't make any remarks about Charlie Kirk that were apart from talking about the fact that the way in which Trump spoke of Charlie Kirk was, deserving of mockery. And it was that constant mockery every night that aroused Donald Trump's ire, clearly.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
I want to ask you about ICE is in Chicago. Kristi Noem is there too. There always is. There are cameras. They handcuff everybody. Well, it turns out they arrested a couple of American citizens. So you end up, with the American citizens eventually getting released. One of them, 37-year-old Joe Botello, talked about the whole thing. He was born in the United States, said that masked officers entered his home by force, destroyed his front door. He was handcuffed, questioned inside a Customs and Border Protection vehicle, and he's not even appearing on the list of people featured in the press release on the raid. He says, I'm just blessed that I'm still alive. I've been hearing it and seeing it through social media, but it never crossed my mind that it was going to happen here at my house where I live.
Yeah, that's what you get here, right? I mean, and this is all about politics. This is all about how things look and how they're going to portray it next year when they're trying to hang on to the House and Senate, albeit through changing the rules as well. So it's, and getting Texas to redistrict, seeing other states talk about it, having California voting on it. I mean, it's do everything we can to hold on to power. And this is part of it. This is flexing power in the cities, having people not in those cities who just have an image of what those cities are like right now, violent and guns everywhere and people killing each other and illegal aliens, poisoning the city, poisoning the blood, actually, he said during the campaign. And what do you do? You're sitting in a swing state, you're looking at this and you're thinking, God, this is really bad out there. I'm going to keep voting for a Republican, and I think that is part of what he's doing here. And he has no shame about it. His administration has no shame. And he's fortunate to have picked people who buy into it completely because they adore him.
I also think that you're so right. It's getting the message out. And that's why, the first part of the conversation, control of media is so critical, because that gets the message out that you want. There's new satellite imagery, Michael Shure, of U.S. military support aircraft in the U.S. Virgin Islands, alongside photos of an American missile cruiser docked in Puerto Rico. This is the expanding, military footprint in the Caribbean.
Right.
There are warships, fighter jets, drones, heavy transport, aircraft, all there. That's all part of this buildup in this region. Yeah. And Washington is framing this officially as part of a counter-narcotics mission, but it does put all of these forces in striking distance of Venezuela.
Yeah,
you think we're going to end up in? You think we're going to end up in a military confrontation with Venezuela? We've already blown 3 of these boats out of the water without, it would seem a lot of evidence that they are what they are, but.
You'd have to ask people at the Department of War about that, Mark. I don't think so. I'm forever optimistic that America does not want to get into a war in our hemisphere like that. It doesn't, there wouldn't be, I don't think, the support from his people either. He got a lot of anti-war votes. This posturing is to show that he's using the military to fight drugs, and that's what he wants to be out there. So posturing in that way is important to him. There's a lot of posturing. It's Kim Jong-un doing those military exercises. It's the same thing. Here I am, look what we can do. And, it's Venezuela, right? It's the Guam of what we were
Central
talking
America,
about. Yeah, exactly.
It is true that I would completely agree with you. I mean, it's odd. He really sold the, he's the peace candidate. He wants to end these wars. Yeah. He really sold it. I'm going to end there on day one. I've ended all these other wars. I'm going to end these. And yet his flexes are constantly associated with blowing stuff up. He went after Soleimani and assassinated him at the end of his first presidency. These Venezuelan moves, they just feel like really masculine flexes, which I think is a big part of his base as well. And then the other thing is, even what you've sort of suggested, just alluded to, renaming the Pentagon as, the Department of War as opposed to, Department of Defense, that is a flex of sorts, right? And it's an aggressive military branding or rebranding of this institution.
It's being a provocateur, and he loves doing that. He loves saying he loves the Gulf of America and the Department of War. He loves going into places, like Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, where they don't like him in Puerto Rico. Stacey Plaskett is the representative or the delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands. She was one of the impeachment managers that prosecuted him in the Senate. I mean, you have to look at every little petty part of this too when you examine it, or anything that he does. There is motivation that is far beyond what the motivation may seem. And I'm not saying that any of that is right, that he's thinking about Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands, or that he even knew this was happening necessarily. But it's an important part of it.
I want to ask you last thing about something that was very high profile. We played a bunch of cuts from Kash Patel, his back and forth that he had with so many in Congress this week in congressional testimony, being questioned about the Charlie Kirk investigation, which, as you know, was broken open by a call from the Kirk family, essentially, and identifying their son as the shooter, as the murderer.
Right. There was a great Onion headline, which I may have shared with you, Mark, but it said Kash Patel goes back to shooter's family to see if they can help solve any other crimes.
That really is great. I mean, that really is, and yet he was peacocking about it. And of course, other Congress people were helping him peacock about it. I always feel as though those shout-downs, it's very hard. There it is. Thank you, Albert. Very hard to win them. Very hard to win those shout-downs, primarily because he's a talking head. He comes out of that world. There are around Donald Trump a bunch of Kash Patels, right? Pam Bondi is one of them. Pete Hegseth is one of them. They come out of this world and they won't stop. And so if you decide to try to dismantle them that way, I think it's usually you're usually playing to at best a draw, I would say. But I did think that Jamie Raskin was quite good, the way Jamie Raskin sort of reviewed his ineptness and the way the FBI has changed and become really an instrument of political recrimination. But give me your thoughts on the Patel testimony and where he sits in the administration.
I mean, it's predictable. Whenever you see somebody facing a Senate or a House committee and they are really going after the senators personally and making remarks to explain themselves that are personal, right? Calling them buffoons or anything like that, I think it is pretty transparent what's going on. He doesn't have the facts. He's being super careful because of litigation going on with the Driscoll case. My prediction, and I will be happy to stand by it, I don't think Kash Patel has more than 90 days left in this job. I think they know who is going to replace him. And I think that he's up there trying to sort of save his ass in a way, but at the same time, really trying to be vicious with people he doesn't think like him and be a puppet of the president.
There's no shortage of people that don't like him. All right, now here we go. Luis says this. Michael Shure. 48 seconds of sports. Michael, thoughts on the great Clayton Kershaw, and I guess the retirement announcement, and Kopitar's retirement. A lot of retiring going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's in LA, right? I mean, they both had historic careers for LA athletes playing here for their entire careers. Clayton Kershaw probably more nationally known than Anze Kopitar, but Kopitar's been the captain of the Kings since 2016, and it's a real changing of the guard. But it's also a rare time when you see athletes play for one team in one city for the entirety of their careers, which is how we grew up seeing most athletes, right? So that's kind of fun to see, but it's unquestionably going to be different for the fans of both those teams because they've had these guys around forever. Kershaw was a monumental figure in baseball. And Kopitar, probably less well known nationally, or to hockey fans because he played on the West Coast and hockey is so concentrated on the East and in the North. But still, just both Hall of Famers in their respective sports and both champions.
You're a Niners fan?
I am.
The loss of Brock Purdy, the franchise quarterback. I would have said it's a huge loss. Then the guy who comes in, who has very unimpressive numbers going into the game, just lights it up. He was terrific in filling in for Purdy.
Yeah, he was. And, he's a capable quarterback. And Kyle Shanahan's way of playing is that you don't take many risks in his offense. And so, quarterbacks who are risk averse are generally successful in his scheme. I don't think Mac Jones can take you to the Super Bowl. I think that Brock Purdy's mobility and kind of check downs are probably stronger. And they say Brock could be back this Sunday. The last I heard, I don't think so.
I did see his. I saw some video of him kind of warming up or, throwing it around. So
yeah. I mean, it's all good signs. It's week 3. You don't want to get them further hurt. And the Niners are 2-0 now. So a good place to be going into Arizona. I think they can be okay with Mac Jones.
That is your 48 seconds of sports. He is the great one. Thank you for being here, Michael. Love talking to you.
You too.
Michael Shure, everybody.
Bye, Kim. Thanks for the support.
Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
He's talking about Kim's support of him getting the mug.
He's awesome.
Pretty great. Kim's got a crush on so many people.
I know.
Really
it's
is.
true.
She's got an extensive list of crushes.
You just bring the good guests. What can I say?
Love that. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Yeah, helps us in the world of YouTube if you give us a thumbs up. So thank you. Yeah, we already read that Vilma thing, but whoever put that up there, thank you for watching the show. I appreciate it. All right, let's smash it like
with
an
your iron rod.
Yes.
How about this one? Have you seen this one? I don't think you've seen it.
I love my Joan Hollywood.
Big
shout out just because she gives us a $20 super chat, just because she said.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Joan Hollywood. Appreciate that very, very much. God, what a cool name, Joan Hollywood. All right, sheesh. Let's get him a mug already, says Harry Magnan. Well, it's $5 super chat. Thank you. I'll give him a mug. Next time I see him, I'll have a mug. I'll give him a mug or two, but then we'll have to find another running bit. So, if you guys can find me another running bit. Has anybody thought about that? Everybody wants to get rid of something or take care of something, and then they don't think about the next step. So, all right, it's time to do something that people look forward to. It's a legacy from our radio show. No, it is not you, Michael Snyder. It is not you. Although I certainly do, as others do, look forward to Michael Snyder's contributions as the culture blaster every week. He dutifully fulfills his responsibility, but this is something different. It's a franchise we started on KGO Radio, and now we continue it. It's curated by the great Albert. This is Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Feel free to chime in if you want. Michael Snyder, you are in studio, and we love you. A Florida man accused of shooting at, quote, his parasite roommate with an arrow. Florida man accused of trying to shoot his roommate with an arrow. Yeah. Two got into an argument over a vodka bottle that was in the trash.
What?
I know.
This sounds like an exciting household.
Deputies went to a home in the Key Largo area around 6 in the morning because neighbors mentioned a disturbance. 69-year-old man leading them to George Henry Balboni, who's 61, lying in the front yard with a bloody face.
Oh.
Several arrows were found on and near Balboni.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
I just told you there's alcohol involved. The victim said that Balboni lured him to a vehicle on the property and tried to kill him by shooting him with an arrow, but missed. The victim suffered a minor cut to his ear from the arrow. According to investigators, the fight then ensued, and the guy who had this minor cut to his ear was shot with the arrow, took the crossbow from Balboni and hit him with it, knocking him to the ground. It was on then. Balboni told investigators he tried to kill the victim, whom he described as a parasite. He has no remorse over the whole thing. Balboni taken to an area hospital for head injuries. The victim not taken to the hospital. Apparently, they've lived together for years. They have a history of arguing, these two, 69 and 61-year-old folks arguing. And Balboni told deputies he was angry because he went through his trash on Monday, found vodka, so he decided to kill him. Balboni was charged with attempted murder. Wow. And then the sheriff, Rick Ramsey, had this. Violence is never the answer to a roommate dispute. But, yeah, thank you, Sheriff Rick. Yeah, very well done. It was one of those crossbows. We've shown it to you. It wasn't
That's
just
not like a bow and arrow. That's like
Yeah.
a powerful...
Right, it's like a pistol that's also an arrow.
You know, if you do this, by the way, Mark, you are entitled to a Boy Scout merit badge in archery. That's one of the stipulates of getting one of those things.
Wow, stipulates is a ding word. Very well done. A Florida man is arrested in Flagler County. He had sea turtle eggs and drugs in his possession.
No.
Beverly
Where
Beach,
are my weed
Florida.
smokers at?
They arrest a man in a van on Beverly Beach. They say they found sea turtle eggs on the floorboard of the vehicle and many, many mucho drogas, drugs throughout the van. They arrest Wesley Winters. He was 53. Deputies say they found Winters' van parked outside a home along North Ocean Shore Boulevard. Deputies saying that Winters had been arrested for aggravated battery. He was under a no-contact order for the person who lived at the house. The Flagler County Sheriff's Office released this word. The deputy woke Winters up, asked him to step out of the van. That's when he noticed that the white and tan objects and orbs were on the floorboard, and they were between Winters' feet as well. He called Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation, and he put the eggs into an evidence bag when he noticed a marijuana bowl on the ground next to the van. When asked if he had any drugs, the deputy said that Winter responded, quote, "Not that I'm aware of." Then he agreed to let the deputy search the van. That's when they found meth, fentanyl, marijuana, and an alprazolam pill. I ask you, Michael, you're drugged up.
Hey, only in the morning when I have to confront you.
All right. Anyway, that's the big four. Also, they found a handmade metal pipe and another marijuana bowl matching the one outside. Wow, this guy was really working hard.
There's another merit badge for this. It's called the Be Prepared merit badge.
And he said, "Not that I'm aware of," and that's how much they found.
Exactly right.
That
Kim's
I'm aware
right.
of.
He's driving around a warehouse of drugs, and not that I'm aware of.
Drugs impact your awareness, Kim. You do know that, right?
Not sure. What's he going to do? Don't the sea turtles have to
I
be
know,
born on
that's
the
because
sand
the
and
sea
then they're
turtles are
swimming to the
protected.
sea?
Yeah,
Like,
you're absolutely right.
Is he going to sell those or eat them? Or what's he doing?
I don't know what he was doing with them, but it's really not
Crazy.
cool. I would, I'd say, hey, the dude is done. You know.
I'd
Did
like
you
him
show
to
his? You showed his booking photo, Albert?
Yeah, he got about I would say on an average of a 5 or 6.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Some people gave him a 3.
Yeah, I think he's a 5, something in there. But a Florida woman fighting off a gator.
Yeah.
As the gator dragged her leashed puppy into a creek while she was walking with him. Pretty scary. Danny Wright walking her 4-month-old puppy Dax behind her home in Land O'Lakes. Wright says that she rescued Dax, who weighs only about 5 pounds. She rescued Dax a couple of months ago. He loves everybody, she says. He loves every dog he meets. I think he liked the alligator, honestly.
Oh, it's cute.
She says her family's lived in the home for about 20 years, never seen a gator in the creek, ever. So I walked him back here, which I very rarely do. The bank between the homes and the creek is small but steep. Wright and Dax only a few feet away from the murky creek. He was on a leash and everything, but I just heard a squeal, she said, and then I got tugged. The creek has a thick layer of algae and debris coating the surface, so Wright couldn't see anything below the surface. She was standing on the bank, looking away from the creek when she felt a tug on the leash. As soon as he went into the creek, I went into the creek, she said, and I realized, oh, God, this is an alligator. Wright says the alligator had crept up the bank, grabbed Dax, started dragging both of them down into the water. She says she noticed that the alligator had clamped its jaws around an air tag on Dax's collar. It looked like he had him by the throat. Literally a half a centimeter, and it would have punctured his throat and most likely killed him, she says. With one arm, Wright ripped Dax from the grip of the alligator jaws, threw him up onto the hill. But my left arm was in the alligator at this point, she said. In that moment, Wright knew she had no choice but to fight for her own life. She says the alligator was about 5 feet long, which is about her size. I got him flipped over with my left arm, and my left arm was in his mouth. I punched a couple of times. I think I did like an elbow to him. I got him like right here, and she gestured. He just loosened his grip enough that I could pull my arm out. She wrestled her arm out of the gator's mouth, grabbed Dax, and bolted up onto the bank. Wow.
You have to be a badass to live in Florida, basically.
Man. Look at little Dax. Seems
Wow.
okay now.
Such a cute little dog. And that woman is now the official spokesperson for Purina Gator Chow.
Come on.
Wow, she is a tough cookie, tough customer. Man, there you have it. She's saying, put your phones down. I was on my phone standing here facing the other way with the creek behind me, and that's when the whole thing happened. Man.
She says that, there were no alligators historically in that creek, but the way you describe it, kind of murky looking, you kind of have to assume in Florida something could be in there.
I agree. It's gatorish. Yeah. Well, it's time. We don't like to do it, but we are bound by the bylaws of the program to choose a favorite. I'll remind you, here are the stories you just heard. A Florida man accused of shooting at his, quote, parasite roommate with an arrow over a dispute that began with vodka. 53-year-old Florida man busted with sea turtle eggs, marijuana, meth, and pretty much every other drug and narcotic that you could imagine in his van. A Florida woman fighting off the gator that dragged her leash puppy into the creek while she was on a walk. We need to pick a favorite. I'll start with guest commentator Michael Snyder.
Well, we know about the druggies. The druggies are always running rampant in Florida. Yeah, it's old hat. And a woman fighting off a gator, that almost has me, because I know that people just love the gator stories. But honestly, a vodka-infused shooting match with arrows strikes me as the most entertaining and amusing.
He likes the vodka-inspired throwdown. How about you, Kim? What is your favorite?
I'm agreeing with Nancy. I'm going with Gator Gladiator Woman.
Yeah. Pretty compelling story. Cannot argue with Gator Gladiator Woman, yeah? How about you, Albert?
Yeah, looks like the chat loves the Gator story. I'm with Michael here. I like the use of a crossbow. I haven't seen a crossbow in Florida.
That is true. Right. Crossbow is a machete equivalent.
Right, it's Florida LARPing. Let's be honest about it.
Machete is the other kind of weapon of choice in Florida. So I'm going to go against everybody, and I like the guy with the van full of drugs. So, what can I tell you? I think
Check
that's
Mark's medicine cabinet
very
immediately.
meth, fentanyl, marijuana. He had it all going, and that just seems to me to be very Florida. But I do yield to the gator throwdown, because that's a pretty compelling. I will give you that, and even the crossbow fight. These are three good ones. Albert, I congratulate you. I commend you, and that is Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Feel it in your soul. The Mark Thompson Show.
Woohoo! Trevor Starr in Hollywood says Mark always likes a guy with a van full of drugs. Right. Ain't it true? Well, I'm glad you've made it here. We tried to get to a lot of different stories through the day. It's been a challenge, of course, because there's an awful lot going on. But now comes a palate cleanser to all that ails us. This is someone who we've had on the show since we were on the radio in San Francisco, and he stayed with it. A lot of people would abandon us, but he is tracking with us every step of the way. When it comes to the DC universe, what's the other universe? The Marvel universe?
Marvel, don't pigeonhole me into the superhero world. Come on.
I'm just saying, but when it comes, and then it's some Korean subtitled indie film, animation he knows incredibly well, and music as well. That's why they call him the Culture Blaster, and he is here on Fridays. He comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for Michael Snyder, everybody? Welcome, Michael.
We've already been chewing the fat, but I still want to say hi to you, Mark. Hello, the wondrous Kim, and of course, our stalwart Albert. And I know Tony's out there somewhere. I don't know what he's playing a video game somewhere.
He's working one of his 14 jobs.
It must be it. So I got to say, to begin with, to quote Mr. Colbert, we are all Jimmy Kimmel,
yes,
especially those of us who do this kind of media. And I got to tell you, yesterday, I'm sitting in the Solar de Cahuenga, which is my go-to cafe in Hollywood, and I was approached by two thuggish-looking men in MAGA hats, Roy Cohn T-shirts, and Stephen Miller is my spirit rodent buttons. And they introduced themselves as members of the ICE Un-American Activities Committee, and they asked me, are you now, or have you ever been, a member of the Mark Thompson Show broadcast team?
Oh, my God.
Of course, I stood proudly and responded, absolutely not. And then I asked them if they'd be interested in sponsoring my Friday segment on the show.
Well done. Yeah.
This is astonishing. You know, when Kimmel first came to my attention, he was co-hosting the Man Show with that subhuman Adam Carolla, and I thought, oh, you know, it's Pudge and the I guess we'd call him a Neanderthal, and they're doing this chauvinistic stuff about women. But he ended up becoming a staunch fighter for the good.
for women's rights and for freedoms. Rights. And I know Jimmy is he's amazing. I've known of him and known him since he was on K-Rock. He was doing sports on Kevin and Bean. And since Bean is a pal, I used to listen to that show. I used to love that. But there are all these suggestions as to where he might show up. But it's an abomination.
It's unconscionable.
CC Ryder is saying, who owns Comedy Central? Colbert and Kimmel pairing up would be a ratings bonanza.
Oh, yes.
Smothers Brothers type reboot. But this is the problem with the new America. There are a handful of companies that own everything. So this speaks very much to the problem of contemporary America, which is if you want to go work at Comedy Central, guess who owns Comedy Central? Paramount. So that Paramount universe, which includes CBS, etc., it grows and grows and grows. And soon, so much of this may be taken over by Larry Ellison, who's getting TikTok. So the media empire is not a bunch of different places where you can ply your trade. It's really just a handful of places, and if you're X'd out of one, you're essentially X'd out of a ton of others.
Speaking of consolidation, just one more media note. Larry Ellison is attempting to acquire Warner Brothers. Imagine two studios of the nature of Paramount and Warner Brothers and their affiliates combined into one monolithic thing. It really is a complete opposition to diversity of opinion and diversity of our culture, and I abhor the whole idea. That said, let's continue to feed the giant media beast by doing some film reviews.
All right, go for it.
All right. So, like our friend Michael Shure, I am a sports fan, but unlike him, I'm also a fan of the supernatural. I tend to doubt that somebody so based in reality would be as into the horror movies and sorcery and all that stuff as I am. So I was ready to be carried away by Him, which purports to get up and close and personal with college football star Cameron Cade. This is a new film, Him, and Cade is touted as the next big thing in the pros until he suffers an injury that may derail his dreams. That's how the movie starts out. So to gauge his recovery, Cameron, played by Tariq Withers, he accepts an invitation to train with an aging superstar named Isaiah White, played by Marlon Wayans. So White is the longtime quarterback of a dynastic team that's won as many or more championships than Tom Brady ever did. Arriving at White's remote compound, which is sort of a combination luxury home and a state-of-the-art training facility, Cade finds himself facing physical, mental, and emotional challenges that get increasingly freaky and downright horrific. I mean, Him had such promise. It's produced by Jordan Peele, the actor turned filmmaker who made the scary smart movies Get Out, Us, and Nope. Him is also the third movie from filmmaker Justin Tipping, who, here's a local note for our Northern California friends, he was the writer-director of the very good 2016 low-budget inner-city coming-of-age drama Kicks, which is set in Oakland and a few other locations in the East Bay, and features Mahershala Ali in an important role, tremendous actor. So as far as Him, Withers and Wayans and the rest of the cast absolutely deliver the goods, but the script, which is a group effort by Tipping, Zach Akers, and Skip Bronke, isn't sure what it wants to be. Is it a takedown of pro sports excess and overpaid, erroneously worshipped superstar athletes? Is it a horror movie about the body-destroying extremes that those athletes are going to embrace to achieve success? It doesn't quite work in either endeavor. It doesn't succeed as I think it hoped it would. I'd classify Him as an interesting misfire, like an attempt at a really long field goal that has the distance but bounces off the goalposts. Him is in theaters. I think it's probably going to play pretty well at home. It's just not what I wanted. It's not greatness. I expected more. Let's put it that way.
I liked what you did there at the end of your review. I don't think I missed it. It is up, hits the upright of the goalpost and bounces. I got what you did because it's a football.
Kick us up. It's
a
good
football.
enough.
All right. Move on.
All indications suggested that a big, bold, beautiful journey would be an exciting proposition, since this movie pairs up Colin Farrell, who is doing such great work lately on the prestige TV shows The Penguin and Sugar, and has a filmography to conjure with, and Margot Robbie, Barbie, and Harley Quinn herself. And this movie is directed by Kogonada, the screenwriter and director of the indie hits Columbus, which was a romantic drama with John Cho, and After Yang, which was a sci-fi drama with Farrell. And in the case of A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, Kogonada only directs the movie, and I think that's to its detriment. I wish he had written the script here, but the script is the work of Seth Reese, and the script is ambitious in its reach for a romantic drama with fantasy elements, almost magical realism, but it also succumbs to the occasional, unfortunately sticky moment, and like him, it doesn't quite hold together, although in different ways. So Farrell is relationship-wary David, and Robbie is relationship-scuttling Sarah. These are two really attractive singles from the same city who meet at a wedding miles from home, check each other out, and figure that anything further would be a waste of their time, until they're forced by circumstance to share a rental car to get back to the city, and they truly get to know one another on the way. So you got charismatic leads, Farrell and Robbie, and they easily light up any and all screens. And two of the supporting actors, get this, Kevin Kline and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, they are of the highest caliber here. Although the cast and the direction and the visuals can't be faulted, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey too often meanders, undercutting the big and the bold in the movie's title, as it takes its emotionally damaged twosome David and Sarah on a flashback-laden road trip guided by a mystical GPS. That's right, a mystical GPS. Wow. Okay, to be fair, it has its moving moments that are sold by Farrell and Robbie, and those moments are undermined by some messy ones. I rode with it, Mark, even though it's flawed. And if you're at all intrigued, I do think it will play well at home. For now, it's in theaters.
Wow. Like it.
Sort of, but it's flawed. It tries to do.
I like everybody involved, though. You mentioned Colin Farrell, Margot Robbie, Kelvin Kline. I mean, you've hooked me.
Yeah, except
it meanders too much.
Prepare to be disappointed. Okay, let's turn to Swiped. As Swiped begins, it's the early 2010s, and Whitney Wolfe, an extremely smart and computer-savvy young woman fresh out of college, gets a job at a startup incubator in Los Angeles. In short order, she becomes pivotal to the creation of the groundbreaking dating app Tinder. But a relationship with one of the CEOs at the company goes sour, and so does her standing at the company. So this would be the latest of the tech industry-oriented docudramas and biopics that have included Jobs, The Social Network, Tetris, BlackBerry, and Dumb Money, all of which are kind of better than this. And this is pretty perfunctory stuff, despite the latest top-notch performance by the very versatile Lily James as Ms. Wolfe. Lily James, who was Lady Rose on Downton Abbey. She played Pamela Anderson in Pam and Tommy.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. And she's completely different here as Whitney Wolfe, who would go on to solidify her feminist bona fides by creating the woman-driven dating app Bumble. So all of this is on display in this movie, and it's competently directed by Rachel Lee Goldenberg, but it sometimes feels
What
like...
else is Rachel Lee Goldenberg? I don't know that name.
She's not a famous
Yeah, okay.
director,
All right.
but, it's...
But she does a nice job. Okay.
Yeah, relatively speaking. But this sometimes feels like those other movies I mentioned were programmed into an AI video generator, along with ChatGPT Final Draft and a 2019 copy of Modern Woman magazine. Anyway, James carries the whole affair. As a side note, by the way, Dan Stevens plays the Russian tech exec, oligarchy is implied, who gives Wolfe the chance to develop Bumble. And this reunites Stevens with his Downton Abbey castmate, James. He was the noble Earl of Grantham heir, Matthew Crawley. She, again, was the dewy-eyed Lady Rose. Look, it's not terrible. Again, we don't want to put this on the poster, but if we were going to, not terrible.
Another one, not terrible, yeah.
You know, it's just not as good as those other movies, even if it rightly focused on the issues faced by women and still faced by women in the bro-dominated tech world. Guess what? Swiped is on Hulu. It's a direct to streaming. And, you know, if you have Hulu, I would sit down and watch this thing. It just is not, you know, again, I'm looking for greatness, Mark, and these first three films just disappointed me.
Well, I hate when you're disappointed. When you're disappointed, it's a disappointment of an entire community.
Are you ready for a couple movies I can enthusiastically cheer on?
Please.
Okay, let's talk briefly about The Summer Book. Now, The Summer Book is about a man, his daughter, and the daughter's grandmother spending a little summer time on a Finnish island where the family has a small rustic house. And
I like it so far.
And this is kind of a bit of a coming of age, coming to understand what's going on. This young girl, who is played by a very kind of spookily capable young actress by the name of what the hell is her name? Emily Matthews. She plays the kid Sophia, and she's really, really good.
How old is she?
She must be about
15?
8, 9, 10.
Wow.
She's a kid. Grandmother is played by Glenn Close. She's superb and very believable, playing a very elderly grandmother with the aid of some seamless makeup. It reminded me a little bit of Pierce Brosnan's work in The Last Rifleman, where this handsome man in his 70s, you know, he's no spring chicken, but they make him look like he's in his 90s. And I kind of think they did the same thing with Glenn Close here. She is wonderful. And even though this is kind of a languidly paced film, the beauty of the seaside area, the way the islands in that area, it's kind of like an
You like the vibe of this film is what I'm getting. You like the vibe.
And again, this is kind of about a young girl's growing awareness of the beauty and fragility of life, and of course the looming specter of death. Her mom has died. Dad is a single father.
I see.
And, you know, meanwhile, this is based on Tove Janssen's beloved novel of the same name, The Summer Book. And it's in select theaters and directed by Charlie McDowell, who obviously, this is a labor of love, and was just done with a lot of care and affection. And everybody delivers in this thing. It's a lovely, lovely movie.
Love it. I'll ding languidly. Yeah, very well done. What else do you have for us?
Okay. In Plain Clothes, this is another movie I thought, wow, this is pretty good. And these are the ones that kind of, I fear they fall through the cracks because they're not big budget.
I'm going to like this just based on the title.
In Plain Clothes, it's 1997 in a suburban upper New York State town, and homosexuality is still vilified, even if it's become more accepted in the enlightened circles of places such as New York or Los Angeles. A young policeman named Lucas is part of a sting unit to bust gay men soliciting sex in public restrooms, such as one in the local mall. But this guy is conflicted because he himself is a closeted homosexual.
I see.
So we connect with Lucas at his mom's New Year's Eve party, where he misplaces a letter that presumably admits his true sexuality, but he didn't intend to be seen by friends or family. I guess it was just to pour his heart out. In any case, as his anxiety mounts, someone may discover the letter. We see the events of the recent past, including a pivotal relationship with a man that comes about as a result of Lucas's undercover activities. So Plain Clothes is a very dark, painful, and powerful movie from an up-and-coming screenwriter-director named Carmen Emmy. It's blessed by a note-perfect performance by Tom Blythe as the tormented Lucas, and an equally on-point turn by veteran British actor Russell Tovey, who was in some really great shows that you can get on streaming. Being Human, which is like a bunch of monsters, but, you know, well-meaning creatures living together. I can't remember whether he was like a werewolf or a ghost. Anyway, it was great. He's been on Doctor Who, etc. He plays Andrew, the older man who introduces Lucas to an intimacy that's going to change Lucas in profound ways. But it's also going to threaten Lucas's career as a cop. I thought Plain Clothes was very well done, and it is in select theaters. And again, I think like The Summer Book, it will also play well at home. But, you know, I love the idea of supporting these little films.
Yeah, you want to get to those indie theaters. I also like the fact that they're indie theaters. Not many people know about some of these titles, and so you don't have to sit there with a bunch of people on their phone who are chatting and, you know, throwing popcorn at each other.
That's for sure.
All
okay.
Right. It's not like your superhero movies.
No.
You have to put up with a bunch of chatter.
I know. Don't even.
From, you know, miscreants.
Okay, let's quickly wrap things up with a couple others. London Calling may have a promising title for a crime comedy. And it's a title that you just know is going to bring the stirring Clash song of the same name onto the soundtrack. You just know it's going to happen. There is a properly square-jawed lead in Josh Duhamel, and he plays a hitman of declining skills and passions, but London Calling is clunky. The occasional amusing scene aside, it kind of wastes Duhamel, whose time-worn weariness has made him a more interesting performer. As he's gotten older, he's, you know, kind of developed a little bit more depth. And it also has the great Irish actor Aidan Gillen in a smaller role as a gang boss who travels to Los Angeles to eliminate Duhamel's character after a London hit gone wrong. So, you know.
Oh, yeah, I like it. So what goes wrong? What don't you like?
It's just silly. Just, you know, he ends up working for kind of a thuggish
Amazon factory?
No, like kind of a mid-level mob boss in Los Angeles who wants him to mentor his doughy little son, who's a disappointment to him. He wants to bring him into the family business of crime, so he gets Duhamel's hitman to bring him along on a hit. And you know, they're looking for comedy, and so it just didn't really work for me. Alan Ungar directed and co-wrote the screenplay. I wish it had been better. I go into these things with an open heart and an open mind.
Sure you do. And not
do-
everybody can fill that heart. Not every project can be part of that filling.
Here's something I can recommend, although not everybody may like it. We'll wrap up with the charmingly titled Waltzing with Brando. It is a diverting mix of biopic and comedy based on the late 60s and early 70s career and the Tahitian residence, ENCE, of iconic and iconoclastic actor Marlon Brando. So it's written and directed by Bill Fishman, and it is worthwhile. It's
a drama. It's a biopic. It's a drama. Then.
Yeah, it's
not a documentary.
No, it's also a comedy. No, it's a
It's a dramedy.
Well, yes and no, but it's got biographical elements.
Okay.
Yeah. So look,
it's a reimagined life of Brando. Maybe I should let you do the review.
No, it's not reimagined. It's attempting to actually depict in amusing fashion what went on with this attempt on Brando's part to build a compound on a Tahitian island that's pretty much off the beaten track. So, the real reason to see this is an uncanny and incredibly compelling performance by Billy Zane as Brando.
Wow.
You will believe it's Brando.
That's so cool.
So Zane is paired up with, of all people, John Heder of Napoleon Dynamite fame as the LA architect that Brando befriends and hires to design this secluded, eco-friendly home on a remote Tahitian island, and the project grows more and more expensive and unwieldy, spiraling out of control. Again, this is all based on
untrue stuff.
Yeah. So Heder seems an odd choice to play the architect whose loving wife and daughter are frequently left back home in L.A. as he caters to Brando's whims. But this, he's like that lanky, perpetually goofy guy, and he does give his all in the role. And supporting those guys, Richard Dreyfuss, Rob Corddry, and Tia Carrere round out the pros in the cast. And the cast also includes James Jagger, Mick's son, who's pretty good as a local banker and part of Brando's Tahitian entourage. There are gorgeous, much like the movie The Summer Book, there are gorgeous vistas. Although these are Polynesian, there's lovely exotic music on the soundtrack, and Zane is a wonder as Brando, and he's even digitally incorporated into old video footage with Dick Cavett. There's a famous Dick Cavett Brando interview that they reproduce.
They were pals.
And he also plays in some reproduced scenes from Brando classics, including The Godfather, Last Tango in Paris, and Apocalypse Now. And the movie contends these are jobs he took to help pay for his Tahitian project. And anyway, Waltzing with Brando, it's not a perfect film. It gets a little silly. Again, Heder seems maybe somewhat miscast, but Zane is amazing. And the story is really, really cool. It is in select theaters.
Wow, you have really served up a wonderment of magical offerings today, Michael Snyder. Was Waltzing with Brando, the biopic and comedy. featuring the Tahitian residents and the landscape of the wondrous place that Brando was building and did build. He liked it. He says it's not perfect, falters a bit in some places, a little over the top at times, but he really loves Billy Zane as Brando. He says it's an absolutely remarkable role for Billy Zane.
It's as good work as he's ever done in his career, I think.
By the way,
personal friend of yours, have you played poker with Billy Zane?
No. CC Ryder said, I heard about the making of this a while back and Zane's astonishing performance. So there's a buzz about it that's even extended into our chat, is my point.
Excellent.
London Calling is the Josh Duhamel thing. He plays a hitman. The Culture Blaster feels that Josh is wasted here, that his true talents are really not on display sufficiently. The movie falls short a bit, but it's in theaters.
It is. Select theaters.
Plain Clothes is the 1997 set film, the gay life that was still vilified in even as recent a time as 1997. A young cop busting gay men, picking each other up. He himself gay, though, and that leads to a conflict and a drama that you like. It's a British cast.
No, it is not. It is Russell Tovey is British.
Oh, I see.
I don't know the actual national province of.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was working off the fact that the one guy was British.
Yeah,
but
well
it's
done.
Not a British
well
cast.
done. But yeah, it's he does find intimacy with this older man
Who is British.
No, he's playing an American. The actor is British. For God's sake, it's acting, Mark.
You just don't get it, do you?
I don't.
You don't.
I don't get
You
it.
do your best, though. I think
sorry.
you do.
Anyway, he likes it. You really liked it.
I thought it was a
actually.
very good movie.
Yeah, Plain Clothes is what it's called, and it's in theaters. The Summer Book takes place on the Finnish island at a rustic family house. Emily Matthews and a coming-of-age story that Michael really liked. He felt that it's both stunningly beautiful, apparently, and also powerful as a coming-of-age film.
It's moving and quiet and has that quiet power. And Glenn Close is at the height of her powers.
Swiped is a movie directed by a director we are not familiar with, but she does a fine job, Rachel Lee Goldenberg. Lily James is in this film. It's a tech-oriented offering, is what Michael was saying. That's sort of the story. And sadly, Michael feels that Lily James is really good. She does all the heavy lifting, but the movie falls short.
A little bit. She's great. It's great to get that story and about a woman dealing with, again, like I said, bro-dominated tech world. It's another app origin story, and we've seen a number of them in the past few years.
Swiped is the name of the movie.
Not bad. It's on Hulu, you know.
Yeah. A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey is the relationship movie. Colin Farrell, Margot Robbie. What could go wrong? Kevin Kline is in it. Well,
Phoebe Waller-Bridge doing a terrible German accent.
It meanders. There are moving moments, but Michael felt in the end, again, it fell short. Not horrible, but just falling a little short of the potential that the Culture Blaster felt was on display.
It's a little messy. And,
he says you can see it in theaters. Him was the movie that he started with, H-I-M. Jordan Peele produced it. It's a football movie, or is it a horror movie? It's a mix of both. Michael just felt it missed. And as a result, he cannot recommend him. I want to ask you, Great Culture Blaster, there were some last-second questions for you that came into the chat.
Well, you know, I'll field what needs to be fielded.
Does the Culture Blaster recommend, asks Sergio Sanchez with a $5 super chat, the canceling of Disney, Hulu, Paramount in retaliation for Kimmel? What is your recommendation, Great Culture Blaster?
This is a problem that I wrestled with, by the way, coming in here, because, again, Swiped is on Hulu. I watch the Marvel stuff. I found it really instructive that Tatiana Maslany, the Emmy-winning actress from Orphan Black, who plays Jennifer Walters, the She-Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, basically said that people should cancel their subscriptions to these things. And I understand that. People are saying, make them pay with your pocketbook or whatever the proper cliche is along those lines. It's hard for me to want to attack culture or basically lock up culture, particularly if it's good.
You're essentially you're saying, if I can summarize your thoughts, you're saying that the arts exist in all of these different places, and by boycotting, you in a sense are boycotting creativity and the arts.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the best way to do this is to boycott sponsors on the broadcast arms, but these companies are getting money for streaming subscriptions.
Yeah, just for the subscription.
That's
exactly.
and they're the carrot is the movie or the TV program, and it's a tough thing to say, and I'm conflicted myself.
CC Ryder asks, "Oh, great culture blaster! I'm wondering what top 3 movies are on your all-time favorite list."
Well, I'm going to seem like what they say in jazz circles is a moldy fig, and I'm going to say that my top 3 films, if you just held the gun to my head and said, what are they? I would say Sullivan's Travels, the great Preston Sturges movie.
Hold on one second. I think we can take off the hymn, Albert.
This is for those of us who are watching the video.
So go ahead. I'm sorry. Again, you like what?
Sullivan's Travels, I think, is the greatest movie ever made.
Wow.
And it's by Preston Sturges, and it's all about, what the power of art, which is something we kind of touched on in my response to the question about canceling ABC, Hulu, Disney Plus. My second, and it's almost, neck and neck, Citizen Kane, the great Orson Welles biography.
I'm not familiar with it, but
don't pull my leg, Mark. And the
Sullivan's Travels, Citizen Kane, and what else?
Probably Duck Soup, the Marx Brothers.
Wow.
Comedy poem about anarchy. I think it's just phenomenal. It's one of the most brilliant anti-war movies ever made, and it is a knockdown, drag-out comedy that always makes me laugh, despite the fact that it was made in the late 1930s, if I'm not mistaken.
Michael, I so enjoy our time together. Sadly, it has ended. You can find Michael Snyder at Voice of SF.
thevoicesf.org, where I put a piece about the final Downton Abbey effort. The Downton Abbey, I guess it's called the grand finale.
Yeah. thevoicesf.org.
Yes,
thevoicesf.org. And his musings about other offerings there at thevoicesf.org. He's here on Fridays. He comes and goes. On a rainbow.
Lashana Tova.
Oh, yeah. Happy New Year to you.
To all my Jewish friends. We'll see you next week, man.
All right, Michael. Very well done. I thought you did a nice job. You got it all in, which is not easy.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I am sadly having to wrap up around here. So many things are going wrong, says Richard Delamater. Screw all this. I'm getting my bong. And if that doesn't work, it seems to make, I'll take a hit of LSD. I can't necessarily.
Where are my weed smokers at?
I don't know much about LSD at all.
Weekend starting early for Delamater.
I was scared away from it. It worked on me, all the scare stuff, so never did the heavy hallucinogens. But good luck. Richard seems happy in his own. Breaking fake news. Trump has announced he will resurrect Bob Hope, Milton Berle, and Don Rickles to make late-night TV great again. Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you, Trevor Starr in Hollywood.
Speaking of that, a new headline popping up. Former Disney CEO ripping ABC's call to pull Kimmel. Michael Eisner saying, where has all the leadership gone?
Yeah, I mean, again, and I've already talked about this, so I'm not going to spend a long time on it, but what Iger's looking at is his need for approval from the government for the acquisition on the Disney level of NFL Network. So this is big money, and he has a fiduciary responsibility, he would say, to stockholders, et cetera. But, you have a responsibility as well to yourself, to the society that you operate within. It's but he's making these cold-hearted decisions about, about the future of his company and the vision of his company. And it sounds like it's all dollars and cents. And now you essentially have to bow down. And if you don't bow down, they're not going to give you the approval that you need. Make America Great Again, says Mama Lisa. Make America great again by giving it back to the Native Americans. Yeah, we've crushed it. So here, you take it back. Maybe you can bring it back to life. Thank you, Mama. Lucy McAllister, my favorite McAllister. Don't know if we can't remember if we've recognized this or not, but a big shout out.
Big shout out.
It's so generous. Lucy is really cool this week, stepping up with another $20 as a super sticker provider here on the show. And
thank you so
yeah,
much.
Thank you so much, for real. Mark Thompson, party of 135,000 subscribers. Yes, very happy about that.
Thompson, party of 4.
Yes, we're very excited, and thank you for sharing the show and helping to make that happen. How many new designs of mugs has Michael Shure missed?
Quite a few.
That's funny. From Jane O. Love it. Yeah, he's got to get one of these days. Louise says for $5, pretty funny to give a dude who was against the civil rights movement and against people's freedom the Presidential Medal of Freedom and a national day of mourning. Hashtag sad. Yeah, this is on the Charlie Kirk thing. I like silly, says Nullifidian. That's why this morning I watched My Name is Bruce with Bruce Campbell. Oh, yeah, Michael, you liked My Name is Bruce, didn't you? I don't remember your review.
I don't think I reviewed it, but I am a big fan of Bruce Campbell. I think the guy is hilarious and wonderful. You know, the Evil Dead superstar and buddy of Sam Raimi's, always a joy to watch on screen.
Yeah. Shannon Colby says, we just moved here from the Bay Area. My husband is from Quito, Ecuador, right? And we decided to leave and enjoy a more relaxing life. I can't give up Mark or Kim or the New York Times. Wow. That's muy extraño, muy exótico. Ecuador. I want to go there. And now I got a place to stay. Shannon Colby. And then first into our chat, never acknowledged, was CBD. Woohoo, it's 10:30 and I'm in. Thanks, Kim. There you go. All right, everybody. I'd like to continue, if for no other reason than it would make Kim late for her after party live. I like messing with her. I watched your show yesterday,
The Nikki Maduro show. Yeah,
I wouldn't call it the Nikki Maduro show, but you guys call it what you want.
That there's alcohol involved.
I like exactly. I like two drunk girls talking about the news. That's what the show should be called. Am I right, Michael? I'm rebranding it right now.
We're pitching that to ABC Hulu.
I'm telling you,
we're going to replace Kimmel.
If you want to build an audience, two drunk girls talking about the news, that will bring people in. But I know you want to call it the Nikki Maduro show, call it that. Whatever you want. Hey, look, I can't force success down your throat. I mean, you want to, you stick with what you want. Anyway, I like the show. That's the point. That's why I wanted to help it. Thanks, everybody, for your support this week. It's been a rough week. We'll see you Monday. And until then, the great Shadow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Michael, thank you. Thanks to the other Michael Shure.
Bye-bye.
My darling Kim, my darling Albert, and all of you. Till Monday. Bye-bye.